Hello, thank you for joining me today. Well, today it is Tuesday, it's September the 8th, and I hope you're having a great Tuesday. And of course, yesterday was Labor Day, so I hope you had a great Labor Day and either got you some rest or was able to accomplish some things. Yesterday, we started a series entitled When God's People Show Weakness, and we gave the principle found in Proverbs chapter 24, verse 16. Today, we're going to look at Job, and the next remaining days, we're going to give you three other examples. So, we're going to be in Job chapter 3, and we're going to look at verses 1 through 11. So a very, very quick, summary of Job, of course, to get us to chapter 3 here, is the fact that God and Satan had a conversation one day, and God said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job?" Now we know from chapter 1, verse 1, it began by saying that Job was an upright man. He was perfect, meaning that he was exactly where he was supposed to be with God. He served God. He eschewed evil, meaning that he hated evil. He didn't run with the wrong crowd. A very devout man indeed. And Satan said to God, "Look, anybody would serve you with all the benefits you give Job and all that protection." And Satan said, "You let me take that away from him, and he won't serve you anymore." And God said, "I'm going to allow it." So there was this first great wave where Job's precious children were taken from him, all killed in a moment. And then all of his wealth was taken away. And God came and said to Satan, he says, "Look, Job's still serving me. He hasn't turned his back on me." And Satan said, "I'll tell you what, let me touch his body. A man will do anything for his health." And God allowed that second great wave to go through where Job just was in great, great torment and great infirmity. So there he was. He'd practically lost everything. Right before, of course, we get to chapter 3, then his wife said to Job, his own wife said, "Look, do you still retain your integrity? Won't you curse God and die?" And of course, Job said something devout there. He says, "Look, are we going to serve God just because he gives us things? He gives us good. What about if God gives us evil?" So basically, Job was saying, I'm being steadfast here. But we get to chapter 3 and we see a weakness, of course, in Job here. And notice what it says is, "After this opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. And Job spake and said, Let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was said there is a man child conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not God regard it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year. Let it not come unto the number of the months. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day. Because it shut not up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hid sorrow from mine eyes. Why died I not from the womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly?" Now the conversation goes on, but I think we've said enough here to see the attitude of Job. Now look, Job, probably the trial of all trials, I suppose. But the trial was not intended for Job to feel that way, where he would say, basically, "I wish I was never born. I wish I had died the day I was born. I wish I'd never had a birthday," is what he's saying. "I wish that day was just totally obliviated and not even in the calendar, so to speak. I wish I had never lived." Now, have you ever said that? Have you ever said, "I wish I was never born"? I know sometimes we say things, and it's been said when people get mad, they'll say things like that. I wish I was never born. Or people say things like, "I just can't do anything right." But for someone to say, like Job, who I think, man, I wish I was never born, it obviously showed his weakness. God never intended for Job to feel like he should have never been born. And I know it was a great, great trial. I know Job said a lot of things. And of course, we know at the end, of course, after three friends show up and they tear into Job, and then I think chapter 34, a fourth friend shows up, and he actually tears into the friends and tears into Job. And then I think chapter 37, God says, "Hey, everybody, just be quiet." And he has a conversation with Job, basically saying, "I'm God, and let me just tell you about my position here." And then, of course, at the end there, we know that Job gets, God gives him 10 more children, gets all his wealth back, and then some. Good night. Job is like doubly blessed. And then, of course, the story ends where Job lives a long, long life. It's a wonderful story at the end, but nobody wants to be a Job, I don't think. I don't want to be a Job. But you know what? A great man like Job went through that trial, and he revealed a weakness there. Now, does it mean that all of us will? I'm not saying that all of us would not have a weakness, and maybe even worse. But the point I'm trying to make is that a great person like Job was tried. And, we all go through trials. We're all going through a trial. I think the church is going through a tremendous trial with all this overreach of the COVID-19. I say overreach. People ask sometimes, do you think it's all a hoax? Of course there's a virus. I know people's had the virus, and there's been people who have died from the virus. There's been friends of mine who's had the virus. There's people going through it. I'm not telling you this a hoax like there's no such thing, but I'm telling you I think the overreach that's happened, and I think what's been done, and some of the reasons why it was done, then I certainly don't agree with that, and certainly don't agree with what the churches have had to go through and what they're going through. I don't agree with that at all. So a trial, we'll just say. And so people go through trials, and our country is going through a trial. It's more than just this COVID-19. There's been these things that the country's going through in terms of attacking its history and all of that. There's Bibles being burned. There's the American flags being burned. There's people that are being attacked and considered enemies just simply because they serve the Lord and love the Lord. So all that to say, trials we go through. Now, for someone to make the statement, even as great as Job, I wish I was never born. Now, that was a weakness. There's no doubt about it. But you know what? It was revealing a weakness. It was showing some things. And maybe, Job took a great hit there and he was weakened. But all that to say, the just are going to rise up. Job did. So here's my real point, and maybe I should have spent more time on this. If you've ever said it, or if you right now feel like you have the sentiment, I wish I was never born. Well, let me just say this. Just by making that statement, you say, man, I feel so unworthy even just to make the statement. Well, Job made the statement. God recorded the statement. It's part of God's inspired word of God that it was recorded that Job felt that way. So all that to say, God wanted to remind us that someone as great as Job, if he would say it, then anybody could say that. But God's not advocating everybody should feel that way. Of course not. But we need to be strengthened by the Lord, and of course we know that Job was strengthened there. But I want you just to if you're feeling that way today, I want you to realize that people have felt that way. Job's not the only one recorded in the Bible who's felt that way. We want you to get through it, of course. We want you to get the victory over it. You can get the victory over it. And if you say, man, I've never said that, one day you might say it. And if you do, then you can get the victory over that weakness. And God does give us the strength to go on and realize, man, God allowed us to be born. God wanted us to be born, and God has a plan for our life, just like God had a plan for Job. What a great plan it was to reveal God's strength in Job. But man, what a trial. And yet Job had a weakness. So if you're weakened today and these trials have weakened you, or a trial has weakened you, then get your strength from God and hang in there, because God showed up, and God of course restored, and everything was great. So I hope you hang in there, and realize if you feel the way you feel, then great people have felt that way, and you can get through it too. Okay. So until tomorrow, I hope you have a wonderful day.